So I've been reading for the last 7 years. अनि यो समयमा चाहिँ मैले probably 30 books र 15 audiobooks listen गरेँ होला. And here are the books that have made the most impact in my life, and hopefully they can help you transform your life as well. Before we go through the books, let's talk about किताब चाहिँ किन पढ्नु, यसको बेनिफिट्सहरू के छ। एक दुई दिन अगाडि चाहिँ म मेरो साथीसँग कुरा गरिरहेको थिएँ, कामको साथीसँग, अनि हामी चाहिँ किताबको कुरा गरिरहेको थियौँ क्या। अनि उसले चाहिँ के भन्यो भने, उसले भन्यो ऊ चाहिँ बसेर किताब पढ्नै सक्दैन क्या, किनकि उसको एटेन्सन स्प्यान धेरै कम छ क्या टिकटकहरू हेरेर। अनि उसले एडमिट पनि गर्यो, मैले च्यालेन्ज पनि गरेँ। जस्तै हामीहरूको फिजिकल बडीको लागि जिम गरेर वर्कआउट गर्छौँ, यो किताब पढ्नु भनेको चाहिँ हामीहरूको दिमागको लागि एक्सर्साइज हो। अनि अर्को कुराहरू भयो, हामीहरू पढेर धेरै कुराहरू सिक्नु पाइन्छ, जस्तै नन फिक्सन बुकहरूबाट धेरै कन्सेप्टहरू लर्न गर्नु पाइन्छ र मजाको लागि थ्रिलर बुकहरू, फ्यान्टेसी बुकहरू पनि पढ्न सकिन्छ। सो सबैभन्दा ठुलो कुरो चाहिँ किताब पढ्दाखेरि हामीहरूको दिमागलाई एक्सर्साइज हुन्छ र धेरै थोकहरू लर्न गर्नु पनि पाइन्छ र सिक्नु पनि पाइन्छ। द्याट्स वाइ यु शुड रिड। Beside academic reading, यो बुक चाहिँ मेरो पहिलो बुक हो जुन चाहिँ मैले कम्प्लिट गरेको। And this book kind of talks about the concept of utilizing your morning and getting all your habits done. The book particularly goes over the acronym SAVERS, जुन चाहिँ stands for silence, affirmation, visualization, exercise, reading, and scribing. After reading the book, मैले पनि मेरो जिन्दगीमा miracle morning conceptहरू एप्लाई गरेँ र because of it, I was able to read more books किनकि reading is part of my miracle morning. I highly recommend checking this book out if you have hard time starting your morning properly किनकि the way that we start our morning is crucial part of our day, and it kind of dictates how our day is going to flow. यो अर्को बुक चाहिँ इट्स अ रिफ्लेक्टिभ बायोग्राफी अबाउट द अथर। यो बुकमा चाहिँ अथरको बारेबाट मुभी बनाउनु भनेर दुईवटा प्रोड्युसरले अप्रोच गरेको हुन्छ र एज इज ट्राइङ टु कम अप विथ द स्क्रिप्ट अबाउट द मुभी एन्ड रिफ्लेक्ट अन हिज लाइफ, ही रियलाइज द्याट ही हेजन्ट लिभ्ड द लाइफ द्याट इज स्टोरी वर्दी ओर द्याट इज मिनिङफुल। अनि यो बुकमा चाहिँ अथर काइन्ड अफ टक्स अबाउट how we should view our life as a movie. Movieमा पनि main character हुन्छ नि त, and that main character kind of goes through up and down, climax हुन्छ, conflict हुन्छ, त्यो conflict कसरी resolve गर्छ र त्यो स्टोरीले र conflictले क्यारेक्टरलाई कसरी चेन्ज गर्छ। सेम थिङ हाम्रो जिन्दगीमा पनि एप्लाई गर्न सकिन्छ किनकि we all go through ups and downs in life, we all go through pain in life, and he kind of talks about how we should channel that pain and our hardship to make a better story. And after reading this book, I also kind of thought about my own life and I did reflect on it. Upon reflecting, I also realized that I was not living a life that was intentional. I was not living a life that was meaningful. So यो बुकले चाहिँ मलाई मेरो जिन्दगीमा meaningful life र story worthy life जिउनु धेरै हेल्प गरेको छ किनकि just like everybody else, we all have things that we go through, and it's on us on how we interpret those events and take our life forward, just like movies. If you're having a hard time finding meaning in life, or if you're having a hard time feeling that you're not living life that's worthy, then I highly recommend checking this book out. It has lots of insights and it might change your mind on how you live your life, just like it did to me. The next book in the list is actually one of my favorite books. It's a finance book called The Psychology of Money. And यो bookमा चाहिँ the author talks about how dealing with money is more of a behavioral than having any knowledge. मलाई यो बुकको बारेमा चाहिँ के मनपर्छ भने that he combines the principle of the book with stories. One story that I remember from the book is about a guy who was a janitor his whole life. All he did was basically invest in one stock, and when he dies, actually dies as a millionaire and lives all his wealth to the family. Yo story चाहिँ न्युजमा पनि आएको थियो and I kind of find it interesting. It kind of emphasizes on importance of compounding effect. And the other principle that he talks about in this book is when to know enough is enough. किनकि पैसा भनेको हामीलाई जति भए पनि enough हुँदैन नि त. So it is important to know when enough is enough. But अनि other principle that he talks about is planning for unfortunate event. अनि just saving the money without having any goal. You don't know when life's gonna throw you another turbulence and you're probably gonna need money. So it's better to save without having any goal than to not save at all. Your book पढेर चाहिँ I also learned a lot about finance, and after reading this book I got my financial life together. I started cutting down on my spending, I started saving more. And one of the important things that he talks about in this book is utilizing money as a tool rather than something that you can spend. जस्तै हामीसँग धेरै पैसा भयो भने we can use that money to buy us freedom. And we can probably spend more time spending with our kids or our parents rather than going outside and working more. If you want to get your finance life together, I highly recommend checking this book out. Kinagi, not only that the author teaches you principle, but he tells you stories that goes with the principle, which make the reading even more interesting. Your book, the author kind of talks about how living with purpose is very important. Kinagi, sometimes when we don't have a purpose, we live life blindly. We don't even realize what we're doing. So it talks about finding a purpose and the importance of finding purpose. And it also talks about masculine versus feminine energy. It talks a lot about how to deal with feminine energy. Kitaru, if you are having a hard time dealing with the girls, this is a book that you should definitely check it out. Overall, this book was really good. Although I don't agree with all the concept in the book. I think a little bit controversial because of the things that the author talks about in the book. So there are definitely good lessons and good pointers that are in the book that is worth checking out. If you're a young man that is trying to figure out your foot in this world, or if you're a young man struggling in a relationship, I highly recommend checking this book out because it will definitely help you. Welcome back to my studio. So I'm gonna have to finish this inside. Your book is a spiritual book, it covers various things like the energy flow in the body, letting things go, and surrendering to the flow of life. त्यो voice हुन्छ नि जुन चाहिँ हाम्रो हेडमा कन्स्टेन्ट च्याटर गरिरहेको हुन्छ त्यो चाहिँ खासै हामी होइन. In fact, we're the one that is witnessing that thought from outside. यो बुकले भन्छ कि true freedom begins when we realize that we're the one that is witnessing our thoughts and emotions. अनि यो बुकले हाम्रो थट्सलाई इमोसन्सलाई कसरी अब्जर्भ गर्नु कसरी अनि हामीहरू जति हामीहरूको इमोसन्स र थट्समा अवेरनेस बढ्दै जान्छ त्यति हामीले जिन्दगीबाट पिस पाउँदै जान्छौँ because we know that those are actually not part of us and it's just its own thing that comes and goes. One thing that I got from this book is to view things from a bird's eye view. कहिलेकाहीँ चाहिँ कस्तो हुन्छ भने हामीहरू डिफिकल्ट सिचुएसनबाट गुजिरहेको हुन्छौँ अनि जब त्यो सिचुएसनमा हामी हुन्छौँ हामी धेरै हेभिली इन्भल्भ भएको हुन्छ क्या त्यो भएको कारणले we cannot really think in a subjective manner. So the book recommends to kind of like see things from a bird's eye point of view so that way you're not embedded in that situation. अनि यदि हामीहरू त्यो सिचुएसन हामीहरू bird's eye view गरेर भने we will get to see the things or situation from a different lens. And maybe it will give us ideas or tools to kind of resolve that situation. जब हामीहरूको शरीरमा केही रोग या केही बिरामीहरू लागेको हुन्छ हामीहरूको बडीलाई चाहिँ हामीहरूको बडीले सिग्नल पठाउँछ जस्तै ज्वरो आउँछ कि टाउको दुख्छ त्यो भनेको चाहिँ समथिङ इज गोइङ विथ आवर बडी. त्यस्तै गरेर हामीहरूको माइन्डमा यति केही चलिरहेछ भने there is a way that our body communicates with us through emotion. जस्तै frustration भयो, anger भयो या अरू emotions. त्यो भनेको चाहिँ there is something going on with our psychic or our mind that is resolving. यो बुकले चाहिँ त्यही भन्छ कि that Our emotions are messenger, and they're trying to tell us something about something that is going on in our life or something that is going in our mind. And it is up to us to figure out त्यो इमोसनले चाहिँ के भन्नु खोजेको र त्यो इमोसनले चाहिँ के देखाउँदैछ. Instead of trying to fight the emotions, if we're just there absorbing the emotions and trying to understand त्यो इमोसनले चाहिँ के भन्नु खोजिरहेछ, के देखाउन खोजिरहेछ, it will help us to resolve whatever the situation that we're in. Personally, I have never been good about reading my emotions. I used to think that emotions are just, my thoughts and they're just a negative. But your book I have a different relationship with emotions. Rather than like a noramro hate relationship, I kind of think emotions as a messenger. So like यदि म कुनै सिचुएसनबाट गुजिरहेको छु भने, and if I'm feeling something, या अब केही सिचुएसन भएर सडन इमोसनहरू आयो भने म चाहिँ I try to analyze and see यो इमोसनले के भन्नु खोजिरहेछ, मलाई के देखाउन खोजिरहेछ भनेर, so that way I can use my emotions in a better way rather than just a negative self-talk. सायद हामी नै हामीहरूको सबैभन्दा ठुलो दुश्मन होला. Often we tell ourselves negative story, we let self-doubt and limiting belief consume us. यो बुकले चाहिँ के भन्छ भने हामी नै हामीहरूको सबैभन्दा ठुलो चुनौती हो. जो डर, self-doubt र limiting beliefsहरू हामीभित्र छ, त्यो नै हामीहरूको सबैभन्दा ठुलो चुनौती हो वा mountain हो. अनि the book suggests that we can tackle all this problem with emotional awareness and emotional intelligence. म यो किताब पढ्दाखेरि चाहिँ I was coming from a very tough phase in life. मैले मेरो भर्खरै मेरो आमा गुमाएको थिएँ र अरू पर्सनल थोकहरू पनि भएको थियो जिन्दगीमा, र त्यस्तो हुँदाखेरि चाहिँ त्यो आफ्नो सेल्फ वर्थ या सेल्फ कन्फिडेन्स हुन्छ नि, त्यो चाहिँ डाउन हुँदो रहेछ क्या. यु टेन्ड टु क्वेसन योरसेल्फ लाइक वाइ मी, ओर लाइक वाइ, किन मेरो जिन्दगी मात्रै यस्तो भइरहेछ होइन. एन्ड दिस बुक बेसिकली आर्ग्युज द्याट all this negative self-talk is the one that's holding us back. Limiting self-beliefहरू भयो, अनि जुन चाहिँ हामीहरू नराम्रो कुराहरू हाम्रो बारेबाट भन्छौँ, those things are the one that is holding us. अनि through emotional intelligence र नयाँ habits या नयाँ identity, we can kind of mastery into building our life for. अनि after reading this book, मैले चाहिँ के गरेँ भने I pretty much went back and kind of reflect on my beliefs that I had. अनि मैले चाहिँ realize गरेँ कि there was like lots of limiting beliefs that was holding me back. अनि त्यो limiting beliefsहरू खेलाउँदाखेरि I got to learn a lot about myself. अनि I realized that my limiting beliefs were holding me back. And I'm still to this day trying to kind of navigate through that, but at least मलाई थाहा भयो नि त that my limiting beliefs was holding me, and whatever I was thinking at that point does not really translate into right now. So like it's really important to have emotional awareness र emotional intelligence, किनकि often हामीहरूको जिन्दगीमा त्यो नेगेटिभ सेल्फ टकहरू या जब हामी डिफिकल्ट सिचुएसनबाट गुजिरहेको हुन्छौँ त्यति बेला चाहिँ दिमागले हामीलाई गोल मिलाइदिन्छ क्या. अनि त्यति बेला चाहिँ इट्स इम्पोर्टेन्ट टु हेभ सेल्फ कम्प्यासन र सेल्फ अवेरनेस अनि इमोसनल इन्टेलिजेन्स क्या. This is actually one of my favorite book. I can go on and on about this book. Sayed, this is probably one of the most practical book in this list. यो बुकमा भएको प्रिन्सिपलहरू साधारण छ तर भेरी प्रोफाउन्ड छ. मैले पहिले धेरैचोटि ह्याबिट्सहरू बिल्ड गर्नु कोसिस गरेँ. I wasn't able to stick to it until I read this book. यो बुक पढेपछि चाहिँ मैले यो बुकको प्रिन्सिपलहरू एप्लाई गरेँ. And some of the ideas in this books are compounding effect, but in terms of habit, not in terms of money, like we talked about in the psychology of money. अनि 1% इम्प्रुभमेन्ट क्या, दिनदिनै 1% इम्प्रुभमेन्ट ल्याएर कसरी बेटर हुने भनेर छ. एन्ड इट टक्स अबाउट बिल्डिङ सिस्टम, एन्ड इट टक्स अबाउट आइडेन्टिटी बेस्ड ह्याबिट, मैले यो सबै प्रिन्सिपलहरू चाहिँ मेरो अर्कै भिडियोमा इन डेप्थमा गएको छु. Definitely check that out. There you have it. These are the books that have made a huge impact in my life. जब म हुर्किरहेको थिएँ, I didn't really have any reference or any role model to look for. So these books has been tremendous help in terms of my growth and my journey so far in life. I feel like I have become more aware of my emotions. I have a direction in life, and that is all thanks to some of these books. You might have noticed that some of the ideas kind of overlap in this book, and I think that's a good idea. That means, you know, some of these lessons that these books are talking are practical and might be useful in a daily life. Iti Monday, thank you so much for watching. अन्तिमसम्म हेरिदिनु भएकोमा धेरै धन्यवाद. Hopefully you learned something, and hopefully you found a book or two that you can kind of read and apply the principle on your own life. मैले सायद यो बुकहरूलाई जस्टिस गरिनँ पनि होला, किनकि यो बुकहरू धेरै पावरफुल छ. There are like lots of principles that are in these books, अनि मैले जस्टिस गरिनँ पनि होला, but definitely check some of these books out, and hopefully these books will help you on your journey just like it did to mine. त्यति भन्दै see you on the next one, and have a good one.